Welcome to the Cashing Up podcast from Post Status. I guess it's called Cash Up because we are cashing up with people. Haha, little play on words there. Sorry, I lean 100% into the nerd side of the world. So today,
Awesome.
today my guest is Mary Hubbard. Mary, it is so good to see you. You are the executive director of WordPress. Did I get that right?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. I made sure to read it to make sure I had it right beforehand, but we've been chatting for a little while, so I wanted to make sure I didn't forget what it was.
Yeah,
And you've been in your role just, I think, a little under 4 months now, or probably like 3 months and change, something.
yeah. I
Yeah.
started officially like the first week of September.
Okay, so
Right?
October
I'm
20,
sorry, no. On the first week of November.
right. So October 24th is when they put the announcement out on the WordPress.org blog. So that's what I was going by. So yeah, so you're about a quarter of a year in.
Yes.
You stepped into a very rapid moving river because WordPress does not slow down, but
Mhm.
it's not foreign to you. So, first, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about who you are, where you live. I know which part of the world you're in. I think that's always good to know when you're talking to somebody who's not in your own time zone or whether you discover they're in your time zone, but also it gives a little insight into what the weather's like where you are. 'Cause I experience a lot of snow too, and you and I are not in the same place. So yeah, just to give you a little bit about who you are, what you'd like to share about your life.
Sure. I recently relocated to the Pacific Northwest. So I am in a town called Issaquah, Washington.
Hmm.
It's in the mountains suburb of Seattle. And what brought us here was that obviously I was working for TikTok before, and TikTok is RTO5. And so they're headquartered in Bellevue for our division. And so
Okay.
I relocated up here from California. But I'm a
Nice.
California native. So I was born
Okay.
and raised in California. And then, of course, lived in random areas throughout the United States and globally. But yeah, I'm a little surprised by the Seattle weather. Like I'm currently in 7 inches of snow, and
Yeah,
I did not expect that. But hey, schools are closed, so you get to deal with the children as well.
exactly,
It's good
exactly.
times. Good times. Yeah.
We don't close schools here unless there's about 4 feet of snow because I'm
Yeah.
from Western New York where we're really used to it. But we did close school last week because it was sub-zero temperatures and they have to close when it's that cold because so many kids have to wait outside for a while for the bus and they have to,
Us.
and within a half a mile, I think it is, at certain ages, they have to walk to school. And that's too dangerous for frostbite. So everybody got a day off of school last week. So
Can you imagine? I couldn't. I guess that is the old story though that we heard growing up. I had to walk in the snow
uphill both ways.
both ways. Yeah. I don't know if people still
Exactly.
tell that story. Like, I don't think I've ever told that story to my children. I don't know if their stories exist anymore, but they did at one point in our childhood, right?
Yes. Somewhere between my kids and the kids of that are entering school today will be the story of, and there was a whole year where we had to do school in front of a computer at home.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
amazing what things become part of your story.
Mhm. My son asked me recently, because we just the whole family got over the stomach flu, and he
Mm,
was recently saying, like, I don't know, maybe we should start wearing masks when we travel. And I'm like, that's a
hmm.
very good idea because he does remember wearing a mask. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't wear a mask on a plane. But then I'm like, no, get those germs, boy. You're 7. Get those germs.
Shut up,
Grow
kid.
those immunity. Yeah, I don't
Exactly.
know.
I know.
Uh,
I know about chickenpox parties. I never actually
yes,
participated in one, but like the chickenpox parties, like everybody's got kids that have chickenpox. Get them all together, get it over with quick.
that's not even a thing anymore. I remember
I
the
know.
chickenpox parties, but both of my kids are vaccinated for chickenpox.
Yeah.
But I remember that clear
Yeah.
as day, coming over and everybody hanging out, and then with us all getting it together. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
big time. The 80s, they were a good time.
You want to look at my lollipop so you'll make sure you get it? Yeah, that kind of thing.
That kind of thing.
My daughter's
I totally
33.
remember.
She was also vaccinated. She was among the first kids, that age group, to get vaccinated for
Oh,
chickenpox.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was wondering because you know by the time I had my first kid and they told us that he needed a vaccination for that, I was a little surprised because why would I pay attention to that? I'm like, when did that come out? So it's been around
right.
for
Yeah.
a while. Your daughter's 33, yeah.
Yeah, she probably got it at 4 or 5 years old, maybe six. I don't know for sure, but yeah, when she was young, before she was in school, and she
Yeah.
never got chickenpox and doesn't have the scars from like I have from having had
Yeah.
chickenpox at a young age.
I have a permanent one right here. I have a
Yep,
chicken pox scar.
I have one on the end of my nose that turns red when I cry, so or turns white when the rest of my face turns red. Anyway, I go down rabbit holes all the time, but it's a nice way to get to know people too.
Yeah.
But
Random
so
stories that we all have.
random stories. So as I said, WordPress isn't new to you. So what position were you in at WordPress before you left to go to TikTok? I think it was, and then back here. So give us a little bit of what the last 5 or so years looked like for you work-wise.
Yeah, so I had actually started at Automatic to grow the marketplace at WooCommerce. So I joined
Oh.
Automatic as the GM of the marketplace, and then worked at Woo for a few years building that out, and then moved over to WordPress.com and was the head of product and engineering for WordPress.com. And I worked for around 2 years, 2.5 years before I had exited over to TikTok. So um, yeah, it was one of those. I like to follow emerging technology. So like what we
Mhm.
were talking about before, I find tech so interesting, and I'm very much that person that's like, oh, I want to see this, or I want to try this, I want to do this, and so I just make very quick like movements on that behalf.
Mhm.
And so TikTok was creating and launching TikTok Shop in the United States,
Mhm.
and so at the time I was living in London, and I was actually, what's it called, consulting
Mhm.
for TikTok Shop, because I have built out a lot of marketplaces in my career, from eBay Motors to Walmart, for Walmart's first open marketplace, Gazelle Assurance Marketplace. And so I'm very familiar with e-commerce and the development of
Mhm.
marketplace, the tools, the ecosystem. And so I was essentially advising them because it was already live in London.
Mhm.
And then this opportunity came, and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. They're like, but we need to launch it. It's going to, this is going to be the next, the future of shopping. That's really, and
Mhm.
it is, right? And so I took it and jumped over to TikTok Shop and launched TikTok Shop in the Americas. And so I was the head of governance and experience in brand, product and engineering for TikTok Shop. Um, it was a wild ride. It still is. It's amazing what they're doing and building out. Um, and so I'm excited for TikTok Shop. And when I saw everything that was happening and ended up speaking with Matt, and I had spoken to Matt multiple times through when I was at TikTok, we had kind of bouncing ideas, or again talking about the future, what type of future of technology is
Mhm.
open source, and things of how those were working. And I ended up speaking to Matt, and he had said, hey, we're looking at these things. This is what's happening. Would you be willing to come back? Um, and so that was kind of one thing led to another. It was
Mhm.
very quick, and I ended up back at WordPress. So
Very
I'm
cool.
excited to be here. Very excited to be here.
So I don't know whether to love you or hate you because I've spent some money on the TikTok shop. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I
But
would.
it's an easy thing to do because it's a very easy checkout. It's everything works so well there.
Well, I love that. Yes, thank you. That's you know, when it first launched, it was all about unintentional shopping
Hmm.
and the idea of interconnectivity, right? Because you do feel a connection to these people. You are talking to them every single day, and you do want to understand what it is. But what I've always loved about the TikTok experience, the TikTok shop experience, is that you cannot pay to play.
Right.
So if you think about any type of algorithm or any type of interaction, like if you were to work within like Instagram Shorts or Reels, and you're interacting in that, you can actually buy your way to the top, which is why you see so many specific celebrities, and which is why
Hmm.
celebrities have such a hard time coming onto the TikTok shop platform or the TikTok platform, because it really is, you're building a community, and that community feels
Yeah.
that you should, hey, no, you should try this. And we played a lot. I think I was the fourth employee. We grew the team to like 350. Ultimately, it's like thousands. Um, and so like watching the arch, and I've never been a part of a team that ships so fast. Multiple
Yeah.
teams shipping continuously, changing and iterating, and so it's a very exciting team to be a part of because you
Hmm.
can make very quick decisions. And so it was a lot of fun. And if I wasn't in this, I actually have the first neon as a going away present. I got a neon TikTok shop sign, and so
Oh,
I'm gonna hang
cool.
it on my wall so we could, TikTok shop. But yeah,
If you send me a picture of it, I'll include it in the show notes later.
it's all right. It's okay.
That's cool.
It's
That's
just one of those
cool.
things where, Mary, what are we gonna do with it? You got to take it. So I was like, oh, I'll take it for sure. Yeah.
I have a place for that for sure.
Yeah, it's a little thing, it's the little thing. It's
Hmm.
the things that you can look back on and laugh.
Yeah.
I remember at eBay we had these die-cast cars, and like they were these eBay Motors die-cast cars, like the exact replica of the eBay Motor NASCAR car.
Hmm.
And so as we were building out Part Center and building out the fitment capabilities on the platform itself, which was like the first PIM system, right? Legacy software. But it was just really cool to have, like, just to see like how
Yeah.
far technology's come, or how far the ideas have come, or the products that you've
Hmm.
built, and how like those staples, it takes you back, takes you
Yes,
back.
yes. I've always considered myself kind of an early adopter of technologies, and it was probably 1999, 2000 that I got for Christmas a Palm Pilot. And
Ah, classic. Yes, I remember those. Yes,
I
I
wish I
totally
still
remember
had
Tom.
it. I totally wish I still had it. My goal is like I still have my first MacBook, right? Is to deconstruct it and turn it into this big art thing and hang it up. I
Cool.
probably never will get to it, but I think it would be cool if I could like just have a whole display of like the history of Michelle's technology. There's the BlackBerry, there's the
Yeah.
Razor flip phone, all of these different
Right.
things.
Oh my God, the pink razors. The slide. Like I want to. I wonder when we're gonna start flipping back to the like the technology that used to, like, what was it, like 2000s, between like 2000 and 2010, before really iPhone gripped everybody. We
Mhm.
had so many different iterations of phones, right? Like the
Yeah,
slide up, the one with the full keyboard, and now you're starting to see people move back to the more
yeah,
monotone, like the less like the less
yeah.
interaction things. I wonder what it's going to look like.
I
There's
do too.
yeah, I still have all of my original tech. So
Oh,
my
okay.
mom, she started this thing when we were little, like, where we each child has a trunk,
Hmm.
and so you put in your trunk things that you want your children to have or for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
And so in my trunk, I have my first cell phone, which was like this big, like a brick,
Yeah.
and like, and it was like a sister phone because she got
Okay.
a phone. I got,
Gotcha.
I got
It's like, didn't Zach carry one of those on Saved by the
yeah,
Bell?
the big one. Heck yeah, Zach Morris.
Yeah.
When I wake up in the morning. Yeah, that's right. I
Yes.
totally, yeah. But I was explaining to my son recently that the phones used to be in the cars,
Right.
connected to the horn.
Yeah. We
And
called them
just
car
imagine,
phones.
yeah, the car phones. And imagine a society today where, like, in the parking lot of Target, honk, honk, right? Because everyone would have it.
Yeah. So
It
funny.
would,
Oh my gosh.
times were different. Times were different in the 90s.
They
But
were. They were. And some of those things have been a hard sell from the beginning, right? Like, you don't need a cell phone. What do you need a cell phone for, right? And now we're putting cell phones in the hands of our 10-year-olds. Especially
mhm.
like I don't know if we call them latchkey kids anymore. Like I was a latchkey kid back in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
But like my daughter, I was raising her alone. At 10 years old, I gave her a cell phone because she'd get home, and if she was locked out, she had no way to call me.
Yeah.
She had no way to get in touch with somebody. So
Safety.
like it was like this is for emergency use only. Right. Like she only used it for emergencies.
Yeah. But
But
I
she
have, like, my children are young. My son is 7 and almost 8, but he has a watch,
hmm
and he doesn't wear it to school, though I'd like him to. But he wears his watch anytime we go someplace public. He wears that watch, and it is safety. And when he calls, he'll call me when he's concerned. He went to a birthday party, and I was giving him the space. We were at Dave and Buster's, and so I was
Okay.
with my daughter. I was with my daughter on the other side, and I was entertaining my daughter, and like randomly he'd be like, "I'm just checking in. I'm just
Oh,
checking in." Right. So it's like it's a
yeah.
security, for them, and it's
Hmm.
good to know. And people don't know that number, so nobody can
Right.
contact him. It's not like it's an
Right.
iPhone, and so I feel good there. And I have a GPS location. I know.
Yep, exactly.
And then at Disney World, I gave him $20, and he's like walking around. I'll get that for you, sis. Like, shoving cash. I'll get that. You want that donut? I spent like $7 on that donut, Harlow. You only ate the icing.
I love it. Oh, he's such a little grown up for 7 years
Oh
old.
yeah, a little mature,
That's fun.
little babes, but yeah, yeah.
So e-commerce is absolutely comes naturally to you in a lot of respects now. So I'm gonna kind of pivot a little bit because I actually talked to Bo and Tamara this morning from the Woo team about the new launch of the branding that happened today.
Branding.
But also
Yeah.
talked to Bo. He joined us a little bit into it and gave us kind of a little bit of history and roadmap of what's happening with Woo and WooCommerce. So exciting stuff going on there. Which brings me to the question of you are the executive director of WordPress, how hard is it not to just like keep focusing on the new stuff that's happening at WooCommerce?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's both extremely capable. I've worked with them
Yeah.
for a very long time. And so it's not more of a distraction. I enjoy, I think like we were talking about before, I do enjoy technology. I enjoy what
Hmm.
people are doing. I like to provide feedback if it's warranted or invited. And so it's for me, I tend to stay away because I have very pointed feedback for
Mm.
e-commerce. And so it's like like WooCommerce and what they're doing, how they're focused on it. I cheer them on from the side, provide
Yeah.
some like I meet with Bo fairly regularly, and so I think that that feedback's a little bit more passive
Yeah.
because I focus on that e-commerce, not individual e-com, but actual marketplace dynamics and how a
Mm.
marketplace works rather
Hmm.
than like one-off individual
Gotcha.
e-com.
Do you feel
Yeah.
kind of like the mom that's watching the kids like on stage at like grade school and you're like, so proud of my babies?
So
Because like
proud. Yeah.
well, that's how I feel
Yeah.
at Stellar. Every time like they launch something new, I'm like, I'm so proud of our team.
So, yeah, I do. I think I don't know because it's an entire ecosystem, right?
Hmm.
And like when you think about WooCommerce or WordPress, I love to see businesses emerge in general and be successful. And I
Hmm.
do think that like the future and the growth and that sustainability is very important.
Yeah.
And so it actually behooves all of us to look at the gaps of certain products because that could
Hmm.
spark a new idea and an opportunity.
Yeah.
But I'm happy and proud of the things that emerge.
That's awesome.
And it's interesting because I'll go out, and this is my previous stint when I was at WordPress.com. I would talk a lot about WordPress and I would talk a lot about my friends and my family. And it was just so interesting to hear of like certain stories around, oh, I built this, I have this website, or hey, I built this, I have a radio station for my band and we built it this way. And then I'll go and I'll look, oh, this is a WordPress site. And you could
Yeah.
be you should be proud of the fact that somebody so far away from you is using tools that your team has like ideated on and developed and now all the way down the road somebody has launched a website and used that right or used that theme or used these
Hmm.
plugins. It's cool. It's really cool to be part of it. I like to see it's like what's great about the entire ecosystem is your fingers like you can touch so much
Oh yeah, for
even,
sure.
yeah, right. And even when you like in the forums, like when you're supporting people, like when
Hmm.
you're iterating on a plugin or an extension, especially within WooCommerce, how these extensions are working and interacting. Yeah, it's just cool. So I get excited
Yeah.
about that, and I
I'll tell
try
you,
not to take, but yeah,
one of my favorite websites is Built With because like I'll see something on TikTok and they're like a nonprofit or they're talking about their business or something. First thing I do is like go to Built With and see if it's is it WordPress, and if it's a nonprofit I'm like, are they using GiveWP? Because that was the first product I worked on, and I'm like, if they're not if it's not WordPress, like, oh, whatever. If they're using like just let's say just a PayPal button, I'm like, do I dare reach out and say, hey, I have a better solution for you?
why? Yeah, it's like I'm just like an anonymous email over. Here's my question for you. Uh, why go straight to Bill with? Have you not worked with like AI? Can you start to just have a like ChatGPT, like a persona within ChatGPT and ask that
Oh, I
instead?
haven't got that far yet. I need somebody to teach me how to do all those things. I'm like, I've been using Bitlit for so long, it doesn't occur to me to use AI for anything. But I'm on an AI panel in Asia, so I'm going to be learning a lot, ramping up on a lot of these things in the next week and a half to learn a lot of those things. And I have been learning a lot, but I haven't done the whole persona and everything yet. I don't know that it knows who I am quite yet. And I'm okay with the relationship being a first date still. So
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see
I'm
how it
like
goes.
I'm heavy into it. I'm testing a lot of different types of AI. I'm testing a lot of it. I'm writing different things to get it to be more intelligent, more interaction with me. I'm really liking granola. I'm liking
Mm,
granola a lot. I've worked and built some templates with that. So I'm enjoying that. And I found that like I'm treating AI as more of like an educational assistant. And
hmm.
my end goal is I want to see if I can actually create a true educational bot for my kids.
Oh, cool. That'd be cool.
But like yeah, like think about it as like an AI tutor almost.
Hmm.
So like, when you're looking at something and like how can they get more intelligent and how can you learn and how can they learn from it?
Yeah.
Because that's the future. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna be treating AI very differently than we are as we're growing it.
Hmm.
Um, but I was reflecting on this recently because I was having a conversation with my sister-in-law And it's interesting because there's an argument around why certain generations are so successful within technology, and a
Hmm.
big piece part of it is because if you look at our generation, right, we've seen the evolution of technology. Like we were just talking about phones, we've seen the
Hmm.
change from tech. But other generations like Gen Z have just seen like 16 iterations of the iPhone.
Right.
And so when you think about innovation in different formats, and it's actually the adaptability to technology, which makes certain folks so successful there, it's because they're
Hmm.
learning and adapting to it rather than just using it.
Right.
Really reflecting on that as how I can use AI effectively for
Hmm.
my own children, how they will use it as
Yeah.
they age up, right? Because it's
Yeah.
iPad, computer. My kid codes like Roblox. He creates his own Roblox.
That's
So
amazing.
it's just a real, I don't know, something to really chew on for a while.
Hmm. I have often thought about the fact that people who've come into WordPress since 2018 didn't have the whole, oh, I got to use Gutenberg and the block editor and what's that? Like I used to teach WordPress until the block editor came out, and then I was like, well, I have to learn this before I can teach it. And then I got so busy with other things that I've never taught it actually. I should sometime just so that I like make sure I know everything. I mean, I use it constantly. I love the block
Yeah,
editor, right?
that's great.
Our we have a theme cadence and we use it's a block. It's uses blocks. So I'm using that constantly. But I never thought about like just, oh, let's just start another class and just teach people how to do that. But to have that kind of thing be your native, your starting block, if you will,
Yes.
it's like, how cool is that? Like they didn't have to, there was such heels dug in and I'm never going to use it. And people were just so against it. I'm like, just learn it. Like when Facebook changes its layout and people are like, I hate the new Facebook. Like, I don't remember what the old Facebook looked like. I've used it for so many years. I've been through so many iterations. Okay, that's what it looks like now, right? But
Like,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
and now you bounced into it. Well, it's like all the way down to Common Core. Think about
Yeah.
Common Core and how children are learning math. And the argument is
Mhm.
that, of course, well, the parents can't assist today, but it's actually easier for children to understand. And
Right.
once those generations come up, you'll actually see a higher literacy rate.
Yes.
When you enter into a technology and the ease of use is high. I remember these conversations around Mac.
Yeah.
Remember the
Oh, yeah.
conversations like years ago, 20 something years ago, we were talking about Apple and like
Hmm.
people were moving from like uh, PC over to Mac and like how difficult it was. But it actually, if you put it in front of a first time user, it's so the usability, the UI on it is so much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were just hard found. It's
Yeah,
just how it is.
it is, and the older you get, the harder it is to change sometimes. And so I've tried to, I'm going to be 57 this year, and I've tried to make it my mantra not to resist change, but to learn it and embrace it because I don't want to be left in the dust, quite honestly,
Yes.
right? Like I was
Yeah.
helping my mother learn how to use her new iPhone the other day, and it was like I wanted to pull my hair out because I was so frustrated, but I had take a beat, take a breath. She's a lot older than you. It's taking her a while to learn these things, and so just having patience with people, which isn't always easy when it's your mom, but yes, understandable.
Are you the you have to do this. Go ahead, move. Just let me do it. Or are you the person that sits back and says, "Hey, let me
Yeah.
show you what type."
So I first say, let me show you how to do it, and then we're going to back up and do the steps so that you have an idea of beginning to end, what it will look
Mhm.
like, and then I'm going to walk you through step by step. If you make a mistake, I'm going to take you back a step and we're going to start from there again. It doesn't mean I'm not inside my head going, oh my God, just do the next step. But yes,
Classic.
I try to have patience.
Ah!
Yeah, I want
Yeah,
people to have patience with me when I don't understand something. So, and I'm not a developer, so when people like are developers and they're trying to teach you something really quick, and I'm like, but I don't. Can you just give me the code? Kind of thing, right? I just want to implement the
yeah.
code. I just need the CSS, and I don't have to understand it, kind of thing. So,
I do that.
yeah.
It's so true. It's like you have to remember that people are learning. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
hold on, I'm trying to learn. I'm not trying to like fast
Yeah.
forward through it. And that's like
Mhm.
there's two different use cases. No, just give it to me. I need to do it versus I'm trying to actually understand.
Right.
Both take a very different level of patience for
Well, it's like
yourself and the person who's teaching, right?
right.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to learn something or accomplish something, I'll say, "Do you think I'll need to know this again? If I'm never going to need to know this again, can you just give me the last? What do I need? If
Oh
I'm going
man,
to
what do
need
I
to
do?
do this again, will you teach me how to do it so I won't have to keep bothering you?" Kind of thing. But
Yes.
I mean, that's is easier said than done. I'm not a perfect person, and so if you have not had that experience with me, whoever's listening, I apologize.
I
I'm
like that you
human.
just did a blanket apology. I'm sorry. It's like we started. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I have what they call feet of clay. I make a lot of mistakes in my life, but I'm kind of generous and very apologetic afterwards.
And
So,
you gotta be right. I think
yeah,
I talk about grace. Like, just please
yes,
provide me the grace. I
yes.
don't know and I don't understand. Please provide me the grace. I think somewhere along the way, a lot of people have forgotten that, or maybe just the individualism of us all, right? Like, oh no, I can
Yeah.
do it. I can do it. And you're like, no, actually, we need a lot of support. Please
Hmm.
provide me grace.
And that we're all
Yeah.
different. We all learn differently, right? And so you may be somebody that auditory processes. I may need to read it. I need to see it a few times. I love YouTube when people demonstrate something on YouTube
Yeah,
and I can
demonstrate.
rewind and walk through it again, that kind of stuff.
The question is are you the person who goes and tries to self-discover an answer before you call somebody? It's like one of those things where like I'm not going to call, email, or oh let me look it up. Let me look it up before you call. Or do you just pick up the
Yeah.
phone and call?
It really depends on how quickly I need to resolve it. If it's something that has a little bit of time, I'm going to try to figure it out myself. Otherwise, so I don't know if you've met Mark Westgard yet. He owns WS Form. He is, in my opinion, like the best developer ever because and he texts constantly. Oh, he's like one of my besties in WordPress. And I'll be like, how do I do this? And he'll send me the link to his documentation. I'll be like, I don't want to read. Just tell me how to do it.
Can
So it
you just
depends.
drop in on my computer. Please just take it over.
And he'll be like, what's your Zoom link? And I'll be like, thank you. So,
I appreciate you.
or
I appreciate you.
give me a login, kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's good to have all those kinds of people in our world for sure. For
Yes,
sure.
yes.
So, we've talked about a million different things. What do you like? So you've been 3 months in. What are you happiest about so far? The three-part question. What are you happiest about so far? What are you most excited about what has accomplished in the first 3 months? What are you most looking forward to within the next year? And what do you see as like a road bump for yourself? Like something where you have a little bit more to learn before you feel really confident about it.
Okay. Um, let me wind back. What are the
No,
first
the first
the
one is
first
like for your first 3 months, like what's your proudest accomplishment? What are you happiest about? What has the team done that just makes you happy from your first three
um,
months?
you know, I'm learning a lot, right? Like being in the community is different than working with the community. And
Yes.
so I'm learning a lot. And so I think the people have been very supportive. And so I think that there's a lot that's happening around us. And I appreciate it. I'm grateful that there are folks that are very focused and pushing through and continuing to move the project forward. And I think that's a proud moment for the community, not
Yeah.
for me personally, but um, I'm happy and I can see it. And I think that there are strong community contributors and strong community people in here that have really stepped up and
Hmm.
led and continue to. And there's good conversations that are happening um, around and amongst the noise. And I think that is something that the individuals, the individuals that are taking this upon themselves, right? Like looking at
Hmm.
this next release, you
Yeah.
should be very proud. I mean, it's an accomplishment. It's fantastic, and I think that that's great.
Hmm.
And I have immediately like there's a lot of gaps in my understanding of just how the community dynamics work, and there are certain folks that have reached out. You included. I have an advisory board within the community, and I'm speaking to them often, and they've been so supportive and helpful, and I'm proud and I'm happy. I think that's a big thing because they continuously point me in the direction to go and learn
Nice.
or go see. And so that's been great.
I
Um,
love that. So within the next year, what are you excited about?
I'm really excited about the educational initiatives that we're doing.
Hmm.
Um, I want to double down on that. There are, I've been looking at it. I do think that the next generation, and we were just talking about this. I think like
Yeah.
with children and like the gaps between what we're doing, how can we make WordPress fun? How can we bring more people in? And how can we educate? How can we educate wide?
Hmm.
And those are the initiatives that I am excited about. We spoke a little bit about some of the wins at State of the Word.
Hmm.
Um, I want to go deeper into this area. Uh,
Hmm.
there's there are already there's already a lot of people in this space, and I think we could either amplify that in a very healthy way that is alongside them, and then at the same time do it internally within our community to continue to branch out. And I think that
Yes.
that would be great. And so I'm very excited about that. And I do want to see the growth of the community. I want to
Mhm.
see the growth of what we're doing, why we're doing it,
Yeah.
and our charter, right? Like our mission. And so I'm excited to see these things come out over the next couple of months.
Nice. And what do you see as your biggest learning hurdle? Or I don't want to say hurdle. It's like, I don't want to say there's a road bump or a wall in front of you, but what do you see as your biggest opportunity to learn, to really get you more deeply into your job over the next year?
People, people in community. There are so many people who are
Mhm.
brilliant, deeply involved, and they have their own space in the project, and it's
Yeah.
very wide. And so as I go through things, right? As I go through things, or people contact me, I have no context as to what they're doing, why they're doing it. And so I do need to catch up and get more involved. And
Hmm.
so over the next couple of months, I'll be at these events. I'll be there to try to meet more people and talk to them and understand, but to try to drive this project forward. I think that that's really important. Um, for example, like, you know, I'm given something or I'm asked something, but I don't have access, or I haven't taken the training, or I
Mm.
need to do this, or I need to do that first, right? And so I'm trying to learn and understand the process that currently exists. And then immediately I see a whole bunch of problems with these processes that probably need to be addressed and fixed, right?
Hmm.
And so like all of that is challenging, um, because of the situation around like who's working on what, like
Hmm.
who's working on what, who has been working for quite some time, who hasn't been working for quite some time, and what does this mean? And so
Hmm.
that has been a challenge for me. On the bright side, like I talked to you before, I think earlier, I don't know if it was during this, but people have been very kind, and
Hmm.
so they're very willing to help me or direct me somewhere, and so that's been great.
I love that. I'm excited about things. When you and I met, I don't know, a month or two ago, it might have even been before the holidays. It's been a weird, like, quarter, so shall we say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said something along the lines of like you're like a worker, you're a heads down person, and you haven't necessarily enjoyed the spotlight on you a lot in the past. But this year, that's going to be changing a lot for you. You're a
Yeah.
keynote at press conf. I can't remember the other. Is it CloudFest that you're
Well,
speaking? And
not a keynote, just a
oh, I
fireside
thought
chat.
you fireside
Yeah,
chat.
no,
Okay,
no, no. So
okay. Keynotes are
I go,
coming. I'm just keynotes are coming, but there's a lot of you're going to be on the stage a lot more in this current role than you probably have been in the past. Although I don't know what your history has been. Um, how are you adjusting to that?
do not enjoy it. So I don't know if I'll do it. I think that there are certain things that I am very comfortable one on one and in small crowds and just having a
Hmm.
conversation.
Yeah.
I am uncomfortable speaking in front of large audiences to tell or to do something. And it's not
Hmm.
that I just, my personality type is more conversational, and I'm very I'm off the cuff, and I get very passionate and I hyperfixate. So if I hyperfixate, you get me going on a subject, I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about this, you know, and I have a lot of passion. Um, and so I'm better with that because I enjoy feedback loops and conversations. So
Gotcha.
I enjoy it much more. Um, for my entire career, I've always said, I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan,
I
but I've
binge watched the entire thing before the final season so that I could
before the
catch up
final
with
season.
everybody else.
But
Yeah.
we're all like, but like I'm very much a like I like to work through other people. So
Hmm.
I think it's more important for the growth of the team around you. For my own personal development, my personal growth, it's more of a team dynamic where I have strengths and weaknesses, other people have strengths and weaknesses, and we can work together through that. And so it's a very much a like one-on-one conversation or a group setting, and we really think through it, and push things out. And so because of that, I often refer to it like I'm always the second because
Hmm.
I can push people up. Um, and I've always been that way. And I think that even in lead positions or positions like that are very visible, I can make them my own.
Hmm.
Like you've noticed, I'm not continuing the podcast. I'm uncomfortable in that regard, and I hope that when I learn more and understand more, um, that I could start something that would be just as communicative and just as
Hmm.
like I think more transparent in my own
Right.
format.
Sure.
that can make it comfortable. But because of that, I just don't like that type of attention. I'm
Hmm.
very accessible. I think that like you would know if people reach me. I mean, you text me this morning, right?
Yes.
Like I'm very reachable and I love to talk to folks. I just don't I don't I don't see myself as the that person. I see other people as that person. Yeah. And
In my
I just like I like building stuff. I like building products. I like shipping things. I like navigating through complex problems.
Mhm.
And I really do think that like getting the team around you strong and comfortable
Mhm.
is is
Yeah.
better than trying to lead tops down or trying to lead because
Yeah.
you do need you need the group, you need the people.
Mhm. Absolutely. In my roles as leaders in the past, and in my current role, I don't have any direct reports as far as at Stellar WP, but wherever I've worked and I've had a leadership role, my mantra has always been to take the criticism, but to pass on the credit to my team. And I think
Yes.
that that kind of speaks to what you're talking about too. Like you're building people up to do their jobs and do them well. But if the criticism comes towards me, I'm going to take it. I'm not
Yeah,
going to say, oh, well, that was Susie Smith over here. She really doesn't know what she's doing. Like that's not how a good leader works. So,
I agree. There's
yeah.
like yeah, I've really learned that throughout, right? Like it's like foundations, product people have a foundation in agile, right? Agile came, we all learned agile. We learned these like these actual these actual structures to work within it. And so I lean back on that often to where it's like we can make quick decisions. We might be wrong, but we can make them quick and we can move forward. And I will take the heat. I will take the
Yes.
heat. And obviously I am taking the heat on a lot of things. Uh, but you know, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
WordPress will continue to move forward because we have a great community.
We do. Finally, I will say to you that our first meeting, I want to be her friend because you are just such a friendly, wonderful person to have conversations with. And then you reached out to me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when I decided to go ahead and take on the role of um, release coordinator for 6.8. And you reached out, you're like, hey, I saw your name on the list. If there's anything you need, let me know. And I was like, that was a really nice touch. I felt seen and I felt supported. And I just wanted to say thank you for being the person that does that for team members.
Oh, absolutely. It goes back to that's just we need it. We're together. I think that that's the thing. Like
Exactly.
this is a group thing. And I do like to be helpful,
Hmm.
but I'm very quick to be like, I don't know. Let me figure that one out. I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll get an answer for you, is how I always answer. Yes.
but I think like one of the principles that I have of leadership in general is like I thrive in context. Like I
Hmm.
must understand why we're doing something.
Hmm.
And I believe that if we share the context, even if it's harsh or like unrealistic, like whatever it is, like where are the context of these decisions coming from and what is the ultimate vision, it
Hmm.
makes doing our day-to-day job so much easier because I can
Yeah.
make quicker decisions. I can understand, and though I might not agree with certain things, I can understand it. And then I can prepare myself for how to navigate it. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of that is how we navigate through building an educational team, growing our community, and what we're doing for the future of open source. With
Hmm.
open source is at the front of everything today.
Yeah.
Just conversations in public and how we're talking to one another and talking about the future of it. Um, Context is going to be key. Where's Michelle coming from with this?
Right.
Why is
Why is she asking that?
right? And it matters. And I think,
Yeah.
and I always promote this too. And deep down, it's like when context is missing or you don't understand, reach out,
Hmm.
ask. And if you
Yeah.
can't get a hold of somebody, get a hold of me.
Right.
I'm very responsive. I'm the world's best lurker. I am here, I am learning, I am reading, I am answering, but I am available. So if people do need to speak with me, please do. Please do.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to end with two easy questions. At least I think they're
Okay.
easy. The first one is, what do you do with your free time? Do you have any hobbies? Like I collect Legos. I mean, build Legos. I'm a nature photographer. What do you do?
So I'm the queen of useless projects.
Love it.
So like over this last weekend, um, I my 7-year-old has a loft bed with a fire pole, and I put a rock climb wall to the right of it, and then a like a swing hammock chair
Oh,
and
fun.
what is it, monkey bars.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like I'm the queen of useless projects, and that's what I love to do. And if it's night and I'm detoxing, I'm reading. So the majority of the
Nice.
time I'm reading. Um,
For
and
pleasure,
I go
or
to
you're reading like self-help and tech books?
so I don't read like I rarely read fiction.
Okay.
Most of it is nonfiction, and I like we were talking about before. I'm very into quantum mechanics and quantum physics, so a lot of
Hmm.
it. And then I've recently read more stuff on AI.
Oh,
But
so
yeah, I
so light reading.
yeah. So like, and it is. It's like one of those things where it's you got your Kindle. You're chilling, and why not?
Your nerd comes
Why
out.
not?
It's okay. And my
Yeah.
very last question is, how do you take your coffee?
Ooh. So if I'm just my everyday morning coffee is black
Hmm.
coffee.
Okay.
If I'm like at a coffee shop, I'm
Uh-huh.
doing a soy caramel macchiato.
Oh,
But we
nice.
all know that's not coffee, but that's like, dude, they're so good.
That's
What I mean? Like,
I'm a
they're
cream
good.
and sugar girly, and I recently bought a DeLonghi. It's right, actually, it sits right here next to my desk, so I can make my coffees in the morning. Espresso machine, it grinds the beans per cup, like all that stuff. And
You're
like
a coffee girl. Yeah.
I only started drinking coffee at 48. I did not even like coffee until I was in my late 40s. But now I like steam milk and I add like caramel and all of those things and make my own frou-frou coffees at home. And I will fight anybody that says it's not coffee. So don't say it's not coffee.
No, no, no. I meant like when you go and
Oh,
you
I know.
order. Yeah. I mean,
I
when
mean,
I was
I do those too.
yeah, we have the original Nespresso,
Oh yeah.
and like during COVID, I did the whole like I bought heavy whipping cream and had my own creamer, like not creamer, like to make whipped cream.
Yeah, yeah.
And so in the afternoon, I would get like a decaf Nespresso and then like do my own cream, and it was great. Because I actually don't care for sweets. Like I don't like
Okay.
sweets. I'm more of like a
Yeah.
savory, salty person. So anything
Hmm.
sugary is like overwhelming.
Gotcha.
And Starbucks and Woods coffee, it's a lot of sugar. A
Oh, I
lot.
know. I like both. I like to eat my pretzels with my sugary coffee. So all the
Nice.
same.
Nice.
Anyway, well, I want to thank
All
you
right.
so much for taking some time to meet with me today, let people get to know a little bit more of who you are as a person, which is exactly what my goal was. So I look forward to seeing you at some future events coming up, actually relatively quickly. I'll see you in Tempe, Arizona, and then for sure at like US, and I'm hoping Europe and things like that. I'll see you there too. But
I'll be there for both
um,
of us. Are you going to
excellent.
Cloud Fest?
I'm not. It's a little far, a lot of travel.
Okay.
Maybe next year. I keep saying maybe next year, maybe next year. One of these days that will be true. But not this year. So, but soon for sure. But I look
Well,
forward
it
to
was
seeing
great
you
talking
there.
to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank
And
you.
I'll see you around Slack for sure. And I promise not to text you all the funny memes that I find, but maybe the cat ones once in a while.
Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. I'm a huge
We'll
meme
see.
person, so
Okay,
perhaps.
well, feel free to
All
send me as well, some as well.
right. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. We'll see everybody else on the next episode of Cashing Up.